Hey everyone, thanks for coming back and joining me covering 15 years of silence, 15 years of shifting lies, and now the long awaited reckoning. Welcome back to the missing spotlight regarding the children, the three boys of John Skelton and his divorced wife. We are following every critical second of day one, part two of the preliminary examination for John Skelton in the Lenawee County District Court in Michigan. So, with that said, I'm going to start the new video. Sorry, the live stream. Move at the stage. Let's go here. And now let's continue watching part two of today.
In my courtroom. That is prohibited. You may not text, you may not record, you may not photograph. If we can't follow that rule, then we'll just confiscate the door and you can have them leave. It's just that simple. All right.
Your Honor, do we know if there's any recording that was made? I hope not.
I will inquire, or
Thank you.
have my staff inquire of the only ones that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And we will inquire with them. And if there is a recording, we will make sure it gets eliminated.
Thank you, Judge.
You need to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. This is all being taken down so it can be used for a future date. It's also being used for things like appeals. And if I allow those things to happen, the potential for an appeal becomes greater. And I don't want that. And therefore, I will make sure, however I have to, and if that means I collect cell phones at the door for the next 2 weeks, I will. It's that simple. I'm going to protect this record if it's the last thing I do. All right. Ms. Keenan?
Okay, sounds good.
Ms. Zubers, will you retake the stand, please? We are nothing if not high tech. We have a bathroom scratcher that you can use for it.
We go. And if I start itching, I'll.
Ms. Zubers, I would remind you, you're still
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I apologize, Your Honor. I had my hands full and I forgot to bring down the pointer thing.
You know, the mother of invention.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd move to admit the exhibits and hand them to Your Honor, and then I would turn it over to Mr. Amadeo.
And I've stipulated as well, Judge, to the exhibits.
Do you have copies?
I do. They're all electronic, but I do have them.
Thank you.
May I inquire, it appears, at least initially, that this is a black car until I look at the bumper, and then it appears to be a dark blue. Is the whole thing dark blue?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yeah.
We can ask Ms. Zooders to confirm.
And it definitely looked black on the screen, but I believe it's dark blue, Judge.
Well, when you get right down into it,
Right.
the bumper is, of course, it could be like my car, be two kilos. May inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Zubers. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, so first of all, I express my condolences for all you've been through over the years.
Thank you.
With that being said, my job is to defend John. So if I ask anything that's triggering and you need a break, I have no intent to embarrass you. Please let the prosecutor know. We'll
Okay.
try to work as a team as much as possible. We have a lot to cover today.
Okay.
So how long were you and John together?
Just over 10 years.
Okay.
9 married.
And one more thing, I know this is from 2010. If you don't remember something, that's a perfectly fine answer. So no worries on that.
Okay.
Okay, so was John your first husband?
No.
Okay, and how long did you and John date?
We met in August of 2000. In around November of 2000, we both had been living I lived with my parents' basement. He was living with a relative. So we decided that we would see if we could find an apartment as friends. And we found an apartment, we moved into it, and over the course of living together as friends, we fell in love and got married in 2002.
Okay, and it was Jennifer O'Brien that set you up, is that correct?
Correct.
Can you explain how that all happened?
I worked with her. I had a part-time job at a local gas station. I was a cashier, and she was what we called my deli girl. She worked the deli, making sandwiches and such. And she had told me that her boyfriend at the time, that his cousin was moving here, and thought that he and I would hit it off. Was I interested in getting together and play cards or something? So that's what we did.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to hammer into your criminal history. The only question I'm going to ask about that right now is, was John aware of your criminal history when you guys got together?
Yes, he was.
Now, when you and John got married, were you working at all? Was he the sole provider?
He was the sole provider at that time because we had Andrew. He was born in 2001.
And you said something on direct that kind of struck me. You said Andrew always helped the underdog. What do you mean by that?
If there was a student that was struggling to get, say, their math paper done, because it came easy to Andrew, he would help his neighboring student get theirs done so that they weren't falling behind or whatever.
So Andrew's a pretty giving man, young kid.
Oh, yes.
He would like tutor for free almost. That's what you're telling me.
Pretty much, yes.
And you mentioned Alexander and Tanner. Those two are very close.
They were.
And you actually used the term Tanner was Alexander's shadow. Did that mean they were pretty much joined at the hip?
Pretty much.
Okay.
He wanted to do whatever Alexander did.
Got it. And I guess that's pretty normal for little brothers. with big
Yeah.
brothers. So you said John was the sole financial provider. What were his jobs? To the best of your memory.
The first job was he was a factory worker, but then because it was part of the automotive industry, he qualified for programs and they paid for him to go to truck driving school.
Okay.
And then basically the rest of our time together, he drove truck for one company or another.
And you testified that John worked for State Line Farms in 2002. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, what is State Line Farms?
It is a huge, they have tens of thousands of acres of farmland. At the time, they did contract work for Red Gold. They planted tomatoes.
Okay.
And they also did field corn, soybeans.
What was he actually doing? What was his capacity as an employee for State Line Farms?
The majority of it, he drove truck, hauling either the tomatoes or the grain to either to the farm if it was grain and it needed to go to the dryer, or sometimes in the winter it would be grain to the down to the river to be shipped out.
All right. Now, and when he worked for State Line Farms, would it be fair to say he was working out in an open field?
At times, because they would be in their semi,
Okay.
waiting for their trailer to get filled.
And what year, if you remember, did he stop working for State Line Farms?
I do not recall.
Okay. Well, where was he working in 2010?
For 3D Transport out of West Unity, Ohio.
All right. In 2010, did my client have any connection to State Line Farms that you know of from that point?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Now, I understand relationships fall apart. I'm going to ask some touchy questions. If you need any clarification, let me know. Did John ever physically abuse you?
No.
And you wanted out of the relationship, correct?
Pardon?
You wanted out of the relationship at the end.
In the end, yes.
Okay. And did John love his children?
Yes.
Do you remember testifying that John had issues with child support?
Yes.
Okay. Who was the child he was supporting?
His firstborn daughter, Catherine Skelton.
Now, did you have children from a previous relationship?
I did.
Were you paying child support?
No, I was not.
Okay. Did John ever do anything financial to help your other children?
I mean, they would come for their weekend visits, or my ex and I were pretty, for the most part, pretty flexible. You know, both daughters went through a period where they wanted to live with us, and we allowed that. So, I mean, his income was paying bills, food, that type of thing.
Would you agree he was a hard worker to provide for the family?
Yes, in the beginning, he was.
Okay. Now, you mentioned on direct, and I understand you were on the stand for a while, that there was a conversation about child support where he said he wished he'd have to pay child support more. Am I correct saying that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. When did that conversation occur?
I have no idea.
All right. And what did you take from that conversation?
Just frustration that he has to pay support for a child that he doesn't see much.
Mm-hmm.
She lived in another state, so it wasn't like he was able to have her every other weekend. So, but in order for her to come visit, there was, purchase of airline tickets and that type of thing. And you're already one income in the household and raising 3 small boys. There wasn't always extra money to do that.
And how often did this child support conversation occur? Was it isolated or was it a normal thing?
I would say most of the time it was offhanded comments, how much the check would be bigger if we didn't have to pay child support.
And this child, was her name Catherine?
Catherine.
Catherine, okay. Is there any history of John ever hurting Catherine anyway, physically?
Not that I'm aware of.
How about emotionally? Do you know anything about that?
I know nothing about it.
We do know it is true, you would agree, that John was financially supporting a child through child support, a child he didn't have access to, correct?
Basically, yes.
While also supporting the children you guys had together.
Correct.
You mentioned John playing a lot of video games. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Now, isn't it true that John would play these video games with his children? Didn't the boys and him play together?
The online role-playing games, to my knowledge, no. The boys did not play those.
Did he play Dungeons and Dragons with them?
Not that I can recall. Now, they had like a PlayStation gaming system.
Mhm.
They would play, we all would, racing games or
Who was your oldest child? What was his name?
Andrew.
Would you challenge it if I said John and Andrew played a lot of video games together and bonded over that? Would that be something you would dispute?
It's possible. I don't know that I would go a lot. Andrew, he liked playing the Star Wars games and on the computer. And I know in the beginning his dad would help him with understanding.
In fact, isn't it true that Star Wars was a big thing that those two bonded together over? It was like a thing like watching a favorite sport game.
Yeah, they would. Yeah,
Now, you mentioned that John started to work as a truck driver, correct?
correct.
And when he was working as a truck driver, was he providing well for the family then or not?
Yes.
Did the kids ever go on truck rides with him?
They had.
And were sometimes these truck rides across state lines?
They were.
Did they actually enjoy going on the truck rides with him?
Oh, they loved going in the big truck.
They loved their dad, didn't they?
They did.
And their dad loved them, doesn't he?
At the time.
Did he care for the children?
Yes.
Did you ever see John physically hurt the children?
Not unless they needed corrected for something, but even then it was reprimand type thing.
So how about this? Did you ever see John abuse the children?
Oh, no.
Not at all, correct?
Correct.
Now, we made a big list about all these messages John sent to you, and he contacted you a lot, correct?
Yes, he did.
Text messages,
Yes.
emails.
Yes.
Did he ever confess to killing his children?
No.
Were bodies ever found?
No.
Did you speak to the prosecutor before today?
Yes.
When did you meet with them?
We narrow that down a little bit.
Sure. Did you meet with the prosecuting team the last week?
Yes, I did.
Did they prep you for today?
We talked about what would happen today.
About how long was that meeting? Any idea?
3-4 hours.
Oh, so before you testified today, is it true that the prosecutors met with you for at least 3 hours?
Correct.
You mentioned that John, remember the prosecutor asked you if John had friends?
Yes.
Who were his friends? You remember their names?
Jim Petrie,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Pilbeam. That's pretty much it, besides his family.
What did he do with his friends? Did you guys socialize together?
They would go out.
Now, you've been pretty involved in this investigation from 2010, correct?
Yes.
Do you have knowledge if the police ever interviewed his 2 friends you mentioned?
I know that they interviewed Mark Pilbeam. I don't know about the other one.
You mentioned discussing Funny Farm with the prosecutor. I get that name right?
Correct.
What is Funny Farm?
Campground.
And when did you guys go?
Memorial weekend of 2010.
Now, how often did you go? Was it a one-time thing?
That was just a one-time thing.
Okay. Can you describe the campground?
It's out in the country. It's off a dirt road. The roads in the campground are all dirt. They have a playground. They have a little ice cream shop that opens up at night. There's a pond that they could swim in or fish.
When you guys went, were there other people around, or is it like an isolated situation?
Oh no, there's people, there's seasonal campers there. People that come in for the weekend.
Do you know if there's any cameras around?
Pardon?
Do you know if there's any cameras around the facilities?
Not that I recall.
What time of year did you guys go camping?
In the spring, Memorial Day weekend.
How many times do you think you met with the police since 2010?
Oh, way too many to count.
Say over 100?
Oh, probably.
What were the topics of those conversations? Have they changed over the years?
Initially, in the first couple days or week, was finding the boys, just getting interviewing me, investigating me. And then changed to they believe the boys had been murdered.
Did the police ever share their opinion that they believe John did these horrible crimes?
Yes.
How long after the boys disappeared did the officers say that John did these horrible crimes? You good? Looks like you're staring me down. I'm good? Okay. That's it.
Okay. We're not gonna be sidebars. If there's a problem, I want you to bring it to the court and I'll take care of it. All right?
Absolutely, Judge. How long into the investigation did the police tell you that they believe John did these horrible crimes?
I don't recall the exact date or how many weeks or days it had been. I'm gonna say within the first 2 weeks
Oh, within the first 2 weeks.
or 3 weeks, they changed it to a murder investigation.
All right. Did they charge him in 2010 of murder?
No, not that I recall.
Were you kept in the loop about the murder investigation?
Yes,
So is it true that the prosecutor's office waited 16 years to charge him with murder? Would that be correct? 2010 to 2026?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Do you have any idea when John was scheduled to get out of prison?
November of 2026. No, 2025.
Isn't it true that 12 days before he was released from prison, the prosecutor's office charged him with murder then?
If you say so. I don't know the exact date.
Did you ever present any physical evidence to the police that John did this?
No,
Do you even know if there's any physical evidence linking John to the crime?
I have no idea.
What research have you done to find the children?
Research?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, you mentioned websites, did your own investigation. What did you actually do? And were you helped by the police in that process?
I made posters, shared them numerous times on social media, met and talked with so many news reporters from the area, interview after interview, to share the story of Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner in hopes that someone somewhere would have seen something, whatever it may be.
How many years did you live with John?
10.
Do you have any guns in the house?
I'm sorry, counsel, I can barely hear you.
Sorry. Did John have any guns in the house when you guys lived together?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you have any weapons of any kind that you're aware of?
No.
Do you have any personal knowledge that anything occurred in Lenawee County, or is this all circumstantial?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Tell me about the September 8th, 2010 conversation the prosecutor asked you about. Do you remember that?
I'm sorry, what?
The September 8th conversation of 2010 that the prosecution asked her about on direct. It was about his high school reunion.
That is actually not the way the testimony came in, the September
I was
8th.
gonna say, I don't remember, I remember that he went to a high school reunion and there was some kind of reconnection with somebody, but I don't remember a conversation about what happened at the high school reunion.
Let me rephrase.
Is that,
There was a September 8th conversation that came up, and then there was a high school reunion mentioned, but I could try to flesh it out. Do you remember when John went to his high school reunion?
I believe it was in June or July of 2010. I don't recall the exact date.
How long after his high school reunion did John express that he wanted to move to Florida?
6 to 8 weeks, probably.
Do you think he was trying to save the marriage?
Up until September 13th, I didn't know the marriage was broke.
So what happened on September 13th?
I took my children to school and he went in after me and signed them out and was headed to Florida with them without my knowledge.
Did John want to move to Florida with the family to give a fresh start?
He had a conversation with me that he would like to move to Florida. Nothing was ever determined or decided about going to Florida.
Were you going to move in with John's family if you moved to Florida?
I have no idea where we were going to live.
You mentioned holiday parties. You expressed some frustration about that John didn't want to go. Is that accurate?
He just thought that there were too many of them. We have Christmas with our children, then there's Christmas with my parents, and Christmas with my dad's side of the family and my mom's side of the family. And
When you mentioned he seemed frustrated, how many hours a week was he working during that time? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Do you think maybe he was tired from work?
I don't know.
He was the sole financial provider, correct?
Yes.
Who's Chief Weeks?
He was the chief of police for Morenci at
Okay.
the time,
And when did you first speak to Chief Weeks?
September 13th.
And what was the contents of that conversation, if you remember what you shared?
That John had gone into the school and signed my sons out for a family vacation in Florida that I knew nothing about. What could I do to keep him from taking my sons to Florida?
And what was the outcome of the conversation with Chief Weeks? Was there any resolution?
He took John's phone number. He called John, asked him if he would come back to the police station and sit down with Chief Weeks and myself to discuss him wanting to leave Michigan.
When did you actually file for divorce?
September 13th.
And how long after meeting Chief Weeks did you decide to go meet with a divorce lawyer?
I decided that before I met with Chief Weeks.
Did you file with a divorce lawyer? Did you decide what you want before the meeting with the chief, or was it after?
My daughters were at the attorney's office while I was meeting with Chief Weeks.
Who is Hillary Golden?
Supposedly a high school classmate of the defendant that he reconnected with at his high school class reunion.
Now, what did you know of John's relationship with Hillary? Anything other than that?
Nothing.
Were you told that Hillary had a disease that was killing her and she was close to death?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned on direct examination when the boys went swimming, you were upset that Hillary was watching them. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, if she's dying and can't take care of herself, how is she protecting my sons swimming?
That's fair. However, wasn't it Hillary's daughter who was watching them?
I don't recall.
You have an idea how old Hillary's daughter was or what her
I have
physical
no
condition
idea.
was? When did you eventually file for divorce? What was the date?
Objection, this has been asked and answered twice already.
Repeatedly.
Who was the judge for your divorce?
Judge Margaret Noe.
And did John have a lawyer opposing the divorce? Yeah.
Initially, he had retained an attorney.
Did he keep that attorney? What happened in the process?
I have no idea. I just know when we got to our divorce hearing, he was representing himself.
Was the divorce hearing before he was charged criminally or after?
He had already been charged criminally.
Who was the judge of his criminal matters?
Judge Margaret Noe.
So to be clear, is it true that the same jurist that was overseeing the divorce also oversaw the criminal matter? Yes or no question?
Yes.
Before Thanksgiving of 2010, did you ever accuse John of doing anything wrong with your boys?
No,
Before this, was John ever charged with assaultive crime to your knowledge?
not to my knowledge.
Now, did you testify that Judge Noley instructed you and John to drive back from Florida?
No, the judge in Florida instructed us to drive back from
Got it.
Florida.
Do you recall testifying that John stayed in the family home during your separation?
Yes.
Where did you stay during that time period?
Initially, I was at my parents' house on Locust Street, and then I moved into a house on Maple Drive that my daughter and her soon-to-be ex-husband owned. and neither of them were living there. They allowed me to live there.
Now, isn't it true that the family home was supposed to be foreclosed on?
I don't recall that.
If I told you that it was about a month away for foreclosure, would you challenge that?
I would be surprised. I did not know that.
Remember testifying that you got the boys into counseling?
Correct?
Who was the counselor for the boys?
I was through Catholic Charities. I want to say her name was Melanie. I don't recall her last name.
And did you and John enter counseling?
We did.
Who was your counselor?
Don't remember his name.
Who was your divorce lawyer?
David McFarland.
All right. And did you testify, and correct me if I'm wrong, that David McFarland gave you advice on creating a parenting time schedule?
Correct.
Okay. And was that schedule court ordered?
Eventually it was put into court papers.
Before it was put in the court papers, was it just Mr. McFarland and you come up with a plan?
Yes.
Did John approve of the plan?
Yes.
How often under the plan before it was court ordered did my client get to see his children?
I have no idea.
You remember the plan?
Like how often he saw them?
According to your plan, how
He
often-
would see them every Wednesday and every other weekend.
So once during the week and then once every other weekend. Is that correct?
Correct.
You mentioned you only filed for divorce to keep John from taking the kids to Florida. Is that correct?
Initially, yes.
Was John upset about losing access to his children? Do you know?
I have no idea what,
Did you ever talk about that?
not that I recall.
Do you think John wanted more time with his children?
I have no idea.
Did he communicate you frequently in text messages?
He did.
Did he communicate you frequently in emails?
Yes.
Did he instant message you?
Yes.
In these communications, did he ever express wanting to see the kids more?
I'm sure he did. Honestly, a lot of that time between September 13th and November 26th, I do not recall a lot of what went on. Because November 26th was very traumatic to me, and I don't remember.
Do you ever remember in any of the forms of communication John confessing to harming these children?
Objection asked and answered.
I'm actually asking about these communications, which is actually a fresh topic, Judge. I think it's a fair game.
Ask the question again, please.
In any of the forms of communications we just talked about, did John ever express a confession to you about harming the children?
No, because our communication with him,
I guess the question I would only proffer
Sure.
is what time are we talking about?
We're
After
talking,
He was charged with kidnapping, after he was convicted of kidnapping,
I'm
after
talking,
they disappeared on the 20, or didn't appear, I should put it that way, on the 26th, whatever.
how about
What
that?
time
I'll
frame?
narrow it.
Thank you.
From September 13th, 2010 till November 26th, 2010, did my client ever express any messages that would confess to harming these children?
no, because I saw my children up until November 26th.
Did he ever send you a threatening message that he was going to hurt the children?
No.
Did John have two phones?
At some point he did. He had the phone that was on our joint line, and then he had another one that he had on his own.
Do you know why he had two?
I have no idea.
Did he return a phone to you?
I believe he did.
Did you and John have a joint cell phone plan?
Yes, until the phones got turned off. The bill wasn't paid.
Did this continue after you filed for divorce? When did the phone stop plan?
In September of 2010.
Now I know your kids are young. Did they ever have cell phones of their own?
No,
You mentioned a cleaning job right before Thanksgiving. Is that correct?
yes,
Where was that job located at?
Adrian, Michigan.
And who are you cleaning for?
I do not recall the lady's name. It was a friend of my cousin that wanted her house deep cleaned for Thanksgiving.
You testified, and correct me if I'm wrong, that on November 21st and 22nd of 2010, things changed. Is that true?
Yes,
How did they change?
while in the custody of the defendant, my children learned of my criminal past.
And how did that change things?
Why would you tell my children about my criminal past that has nothing to do with them? They are 5, 7, and 9. They don't understand what that is. Why would you tell them about it?
But I'm not asking you why he told them. You testified things changed. Can you express to the court how they changed after this conversation occurred?
Counsel, if it helps you, I understand what she said.
Okay.
I clearly
That-
understand that what she's saying is that her anger over his sharing of that information with children at the age of 9, 7, and 5, specifically that she was a sexual offender. 9-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and 5-year-olds should even know what sex is.
I'm not debating that, Judge.
What?
I'm not debating that at all, Your Honor.
So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you're worried about whether the court understands it, the court understands.
Understood. Was November 22nd John's birthday?
Yes,
Did you guys usually do special things for his birthday?
no,
What time did John take the children on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving in 2010?
he was to pick them up at 3 p.m. at my parents' house.
Okay, and what time did you leave for Thanksgiving holiday? The next day, I guess.
Did I leave to go to the Thanksgiving holiday?
Yeah.
I believe around 10:30 in the morning, maybe 11. I don't recall the time.
And what time did you get back?
Evening, 6, 6:30, 7.
Did you speak to your children at all on Thanksgiving Day?
No, I did not.
Okay, now, is that the day you made it abundantly clear you didn't want to work things out anymore?
No,
Did you speak to your children Thanksgiving night?
no,
You remember testifying during a phone call with John? It sounded like the kids were in the back having a great time.
yes, that was early in the morning on Thanksgiving Day.
So you did speak to them on Thanksgiving Day.
I did not speak to the children. I spoke
You just
to
heard the children
the
in the
defendant,
background.
and I heard the children in the background playing a video game.
How far did John live from where you were staying when you guys moved out?
About 3 blocks.
Okay, and your nephew was a football player, correct?
Yes,
And who did he play for?
a community high school, Hudson Tigers.
And they were playing in a state championship game in 2010.
Correct.
What was the date of the game?
November 27th, 2010.
Do you know where the game is located?
Ford Field in Detroit.
Now, do you remember testifying that John's van was in the driveway that day? When he said on the 27th. Is that accurate? When did
Not
you,
on the 27th,
what day did you see John's van in the driveway?
on the 26th of November 2010.
Okay, what time of day was that?
Around noontime.
And did you see a woman enter the house?
I saw a woman get out of a car and head to his front door, but I could not see his front door from where I was at. So I assume she went in his house.
Okay. Can you describe her?
Thin, long blonde hair.
Did you ever meet her before?
At the time, I didn't know who it was.
Do you know who it is today?
I do.
Who is it?
Kelsey Borowski, who is the daughter of Jennifer Borowski, who lived with John's cousin, James O'Brien.
Were you friends with Kelsey?
I mean, I knew her. She's part of the family. I don't know that I would say we were friends. She is a teenager.
Do you know why she was going over that day?
I have no idea.
Do you know what vehicle she was driving? If she was driving a vehicle?
It was a car.
Do you know what kind?
No.
Tell me about Cafe Mom. Break that down for me. What is Cafe Mom?
It is a social media website, or was at the time, very similar to MySpace, Facebook.
And did you log on to Cafe Mom in Thanksgiving of 2010?
It's possible.
Did you say that a woman named Joanne Taylor sent you a friend request at some point on Cafe Mom?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
No, I don't.
Was it before Thanksgiving?
Yes,
Did you accept the request?
I did.
Did you recognize her name at all?
No,
Did she have pictures on the website?
I don't recall.
Did you ever meet her in person?
No,
Did you and Joanne Taylor go to the same groups on Cafe Mom? Did you guys have anything in common?
I do not recall.
Now, you said that you received an email from that account on November 26, 2010 at 7:02. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Okay. Did you share that email to the police?
yes.
Do you have any knowledge if they forensically traced that email?
I'm not sure if they did or not.
Now, you also testified other than the one word persecuted. That's why you believe Joanne's email was from John, correct?
Yes,
Do you know when John went to Fulton County Health Center?
at some point on November 26th.
Okay. Now, do you know if he had access to his phone at Fulton County Health Center?
Yes, he did.
Do you know if he used the phone on Cafe Mom? Do you have any proof?
That I have no idea.
Now, you mentioned your attorney told you to wait to make a police report. Is that correct?
He told me,
Which day, Your Honor?
We're talking November 26th.
he told me that I should wait. Don't call right at 3:00, give a little leeway for travel. And I told him I'm not waiting much past 3 because he's already taken my sons and went to Florida with them without my knowledge. And now he's in a hospital with a broken foot and does not have my children with him and does not have a phone number to give me of the person he claims they're with.
Who and how long did it take for Morenci police and you guys to connect? Do you remember that?
It was within a couple hours. I don't recall the time.
Who is Pastor Donna Galloway?
At the time, she was the minister of the Morenci United Methodist Church.
Did she play any role in this investigation?
I know that she was at the house at my mom and dad's. As far as the investigation, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you made a website. Is that correct?
I didn't necessarily make the website. Somebody made it for us. I don't even remember who it was.
Were there any leads that ever came from the website?
I have no idea.
You have no idea if there were leads from the website to find your children?
I have no idea. I didn't monitor the website. Someone made it for us and monitored it. I have no idea.
Did the monitor ever tell you if there were any leads?
No, I would assume they would have called the police,
Who created the Facebook page? Was that you?
the family.
Were there leads from the Facebook page you're
We've
aware of?
had all kinds of tips come in, and I've immediately passed them on to law enforcement.
If you had to gauge, how many tips came in to the best of your knowledge?
Hundreds.
And every one of the tips were passed on to law enforcement.
Correct.
Nothing further this time.
Mr. Amadeo asked you about State Line Farms and asked you if it was essentially an open field. Do you remember that?
Yes.
There's actually a ton of big barns on the property, right?
They own property all over Lenawee County, Fulton County, Ohio. Big fields.
So when you said he worked for State Line Farms and you described the location in Morenci off of 156, did he only work at that location?
The majority of the time, but there was also a location outside of Lyons, Ohio that he would sometimes work at.
Do you know how many acres we're talking?
I don't.
And you mentioned hog barns.
Correct.
Are those hog barns on the State Line Farm properties?
In Morenci, yes.
What are these hog barns?
Behind the equipment barns.
Okay. So I'm gonna assume, because we call them hog barns, there's gonna be some pigs out there.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how many hogs these farms were holding at the time?
I know that they have 4 hog barns out there. I do not recall how many. At one time I knew, but I have no idea.
Okay. Other big barns on the property besides the hog barns?
There's an equipment barn, and I believe there was, as I drive by it all the time, but there are new buildings that have been put up there in the past 16 years. So trying to remember what, I think there may have been one other, like what was an outbuilding.
Do you have any personal knowledge if there were other bodies of water or anything like that on State Line Farm properties?
Not that I can recall.
Do you know?
Other than, I take that back. The location outside of Lyons, Ohio, there is a pond.
Or there's any woods on any of the State Line Farm properties?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Amadeo asked you if you had any personal knowledge back at the time about the defendant committing any abuse against his daughter, Katie. Do you recall that question?
I do. She knew that though. She's recording this. You asked her for knowledge.
Your Honor, I'm gonna approach the witness.
Okay.
Your Honor, for the record, I would indicate I did hand the witness the FBI report with her statement that she gave on November 27th, 2010.
John was,
What, read it to yourself and then I'll ask you a question. I
Oh,
apologize.
sorry.
I should have clarified.
okay.
Do you remember speaking to the FBI in November 27th of 2010?
Yes, I do.
And at that time, you were asked a similar question about John having any previous incidents, abuse allegations regarding the defendant. Do you remember that?
Yes, and I had forgotten about that. One of those things you block.
And what was your knowledge at that time?
That at some point in Katie's life, she had been sleeping in her parents' bed. Her mom was at work, and she saw milk come out of her father's penis.
And to the best of your knowledge, was that how Katie's mother actually got awarded custody of their child?
That I have no idea.
Mr. Amadeo also asked you if you knew if the defendant was violent towards the children at all during the time of your marriage, correct?
Correct.
I'm also, Your Honor, I'm going to approach the witness. FBI report dated November 27th, 2010. Again, read to yourself. Just this.
Okay.
Again, during that same conversation with the FBI, did you disclose any concerns you had at that time?
The only time that I ever, and that refreshed my memory, remember the defendant physically reprimanding our sons was when they were jumping on our bed and knocked the TV off and it broke. He took each of the boys into a separate room and spanked their bare bottoms with a belt.
And did you have a conversation with John about that behavior?
I told her I didn't agree with that. I never agree with a child being spanked on their bare bottom with a belt.
Did you have an issue with discipline in general or just being spanked on the bare bottom with a belt?
Pretty much just being spanked on the bare bottom with a belt. Discipline can happen without being physically harming.
You testified earlier that when you read the email on Cafe Mom from Mom Forever Young, that you knew that you believed it sounded like the defendant based on the word persecute, correct?
Correct.
All right. And again, I'm going to approach the witness with her FBI report from November 27th, 2010. Does that refresh your memory on what happened back in 2010?
Yes.
Did you have any doubts in your mind on the person who was identifying themselves as Joanne Taylor, that it was actually a Joanne Taylor?
Initially, no. And then at some point throughout receiving messages, it seemed like every time the defendant and I would have a disagreement or an argument, I would receive a message of some sort from this Joanne Taylor, always defending John. And I started to wonder if it wasn't the defendant himself or possibly his sister Lucinda messing with me.
So it appeared that every time you guys got in a fight, this person would message you?
Within, yes.
And did they know a lot of information about those arguments?
There was a lot of personal information that was that whoever this Joanne Taylor was, a lot of personal information that you wouldn't just tell an acquaintance.
You testified that you knew who Jennifer Borowski was back in 2010, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you're looking at out your window from your house all the way over to Congress Street, can you see exactly everything?
No, I could see the driveway. I could see where the van was parked. I could see the driveway. I could see where the van was parked. I could see when the car pulled in the driveway. And I knew it was a woman that got out, but I did not know who.
Okay, and is that just based on the distance?
The distance.
Okay.
Had I been next door or something, I would have known that it was Kelsey.
You were asked about doing special things for the defendant's birthday. Do you remember that question?
Yes.
Do you recall during the course of your marriage, it's going to be an odd question, I apologize, having an agreement to have birthday sex? Was that a special thing, special occasion?
Yes.
And was that a given every year on his birthday?
Yes.
And so November 22nd, 2010 was his birthday.
Correct.
And I know you testified you don't recall. Do you think that do you think that you guys were planning on him coming over that night?
We may have been. I honestly don't recall.
You were asked if the defendant owned any weapons.
Correct.
So if a gun was found in his home during a search, you wouldn't have had any knowledge about that?
Correct.
What about any knives?
I wouldn't have no idea.
You met with Mr. Hartung and I last week,
Correct.
a couple hours.
Yes.
At any point in time, were you told what to say here today?
No, I was not.
Nothing further.
Did you ever see John physically abuse your children?
No.
And when he allegedly hit them with a belt, did you take him to the hospital or anything?
No.
And his daughter, Katie, did you actually see that happen, or did that information come from his ex-wife?
No, that information came from the defendant.
The defendant told you that.
Correct.
When did he tell you that?
I have no idea. Beginning of early year of in our relationship, I no idea.
What exactly did he tell you?
Exactly what I just testified to. That she was in his bed and he did not know she was there, and she told her mother that she saw milk come out of his penis.
Do you know if any charges were pressed against him?
I have no idea.
Nothing further.
I'm all set, Your Honor, nothing further.
Can she be excused?
Yes, Your Honor, and we'd ask that she be allowed to remain in the courtroom.
I have no objection to that, Judge.
The suitors, you may stay in the courtroom, but again, if you leave, please do not discuss your testimony.
I will not. Thank you.
You may call your next witness.
Call Donna Galloway.
Galloway, please come right up here to the witness box. Right up here. Ms. Galloway, you can put the water right on that stand. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please be seated. Give me your full name, spelling, vote for the record.
Donna, D-O-N-N-A, Galloway, G-A-L-L-O-W-A-Y.
Now, Ms. Galloway, I'm gonna ask you to pull right up to that microphone.
Are you telling I'm too not loud enough?
Well, that's not exactly what I was gonna say. This particular microphone does not.
You notice those who know me are chuckling about that.
Yeah. You know, I have friends like that too, at least I call them friends. That does not amplify your voice.
Okay,
It is the microphone that goes to the tape recording, the CD. We don't tape record anything anymore. Anyway, it's what records your voice for the purposes of a transcript. So it's very important that you speak your answers nice and clearly.
okay. Set.
The other thing that I would tell you is, I don't know if you were here early on, but you're not to discuss, if we don't get done with you, you're not to discuss your testimony with anyone.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Give us your full name for the record, please.
Donna Galloway.
Good afternoon, Pastor Galloway, right?
Pastor's fine.
Okay. You were the pastor of the Methodist Church in Morenci back in 2010, is that correct?
That's correct.
So give us a little background about yourself, please. Tell us about your, how you became a pastor, where you worked at prior to going to Morenci.
Oh, okay. I started out as a pastor in the Salvation Army. I come from a small town in northern Michigan, a large family, which is why I fit in Morenci quite well, because small town, etc. And I started as a Salvation Army pastor, did that for 25 years, almost 27 years, and then became a United Methodist pastor, had a break of about 2.5 years, and then became a United Methodist pastor. Came to Morenci. Morenci was my first charge, my first appointment was Morenci. And then while I was in Morenci, I took on the Weston United Methodist Church. So I did that for 11 years.
Okay. Which is nearby Morenci, but not too far away.
Right, right.
Okay. When did you first start in Morenci?
The end of June in 2010. I came a little earlier than most pastors in that move because I was not coming from another church. I was coming from out of my retirement, so to speak, and coming into Morenci.
Do you have a special recollection of meeting the Skelton boys?
I certainly do. I was moving in and the boys saw that there was a car in the driveway. I don't know if they were taking a walk or riding their bikes, but they didn't live too far from the parsonage. And I was taking a break, sitting on the porch, and they came up and they came up and introduced themselves to me and asked if there was anything they could do to help me. to help me move in. And I said, well, everything that I had with me at that point, because my husband was bringing some other things, I didn't, but maybe, another day. And Alex asked if I was going to have Vacation Bible School.
Vacation Bible School.
Vacation Bible School. They really liked Vacation Bible School. And I said, well, I think I can do that. And they said, tomorrow? I said, I'll need a little more time than tomorrow to plan. And we kind of sat on the steps of the parsonage and chatted for a little bit. And they said they wanted to show me where they lived. I walked to the corner with them of Congress and looked down. They said, that's our house right down there. And it wasn't too much longer before I met Tanya, because apparently they went home and told her everything, especially about Vacation Bible School. And we did have Vacation Bible School, and that's another great memory, because we made boats out of boxes, which they took home. Sorry about that one. But I picked up refrigerator boxes and things, and we made boats to sail on the Sea of Galilee. And the boys just loved that.
So it sounded like they became active in the church, very much so at that point in time.
Yes, they were very active. Saw them every Sunday morning.
So we're talking about starting roughly in July of 2010, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes. Yes.
and was either of their parents with them, or both their parents with them?
Both of their parents and grandparents, sometimes a great aunt. It just depended on who was visiting and who was checking things out.
Okay. As summer progressed, did you continue to come to know the Skelton family?
Yes, absolutely.
Explain how that came about.
Well, we had different events at the church. We had a family time. We had an introduction to the pastor. Never did get to teach them what they wanted to learn so badly. I introduced myself with a trick that nobody else could do, and that is that I could blow up balloons with my nose. And the boys sat and watched, trying to figure it out. And they asked me if I would teach them. And I said, only if your mother will say yes. And that was at a family gathering. We were in what was called the Rotunda area. And she just shook her head because that was kind of a strange thing, but it was fun. And they thought that because I could do that, I was really, really special.
So as summer started to get passed by and into fall, did you personally become aware there was some problems with the Tanya and John Skelton marriage?
Yes.
Tell us how you found out about this.
Various discussions. As pastors, we get phone calls. People say, hey, you need to be praying for. I was also friends with Tanya's mom, and we probably saw each other 2 or 3 times a week, and had lunches together and whatever. So I knew that there were some problems, but I knew that they were doing some counseling and they were wanting to work on it, partly because of the boys and partly because they needed to work on it.
Okay. At some point, did you become aware that a couple of the boys wound up in Florida for a while?
Yes, that was an interesting time. That was the first time that I, as a pastor, saw my congregation rally around a family that was part of it. And there was no hesitation when I picked up the phone and called various people and said, hey, Tanya and Bev need a little help getting down to Florida to get the boys. Can you help? And I did not have one person say no.
So how did they help?
They helped by providing financial assistance, money for gas and for staying at a motel if necessary, so that Tanya could go down and get the boys and come back home with them.
And that was a congregational ask?
Yeah, and it wasn't an ask by Tanya and her mom. It was an ask by me. I was the one who, went to the folks and said, hey, this is what we need. This is what we need to do. And not a moment's hesitation from that congregation of people.
So what happens next with your relationship with the Skelton family after this?
I still am the pastor. I was still, I sat on Tanya's couch and we rolled socks and folded clothes just to talk, just so that she had a sounding board. I was not trained. I had experience, but I was not trained in professional marriage counseling. I advise that they do that, but I was trained in friendship.
Wait, just a moment. You seem to be having
You are in the meeting now.
All right, I think we're back.
Okay.
So you mentioned, or you started to mention that you weren't necessarily trained yourself in marital counseling?
In marital counseling. And also from my experience as a pastor, I knew that counseling with a couple in the congregation was never a good idea. No matter what, somebody thought there would be sides, whether there was or wasn't. And I decided that I would be the pastor and they could find someone who would be the marriage counselor.
Okay.
And so I was available to anyone who needed me.
Okay. Then what happens next?
Oh, what happens next is a lot of different things. We had Vacation Bible School, Cub Scouts started, school started. The boys were in a club at school, the Bible club, which one of the ladies at the church taught. And they would come in on Sunday morning. I was usually in the upstairs part of the church. I would hear them come in the front door and run across the rotunda. I could hear their feet, three sets of feet as they hit the stairs and up to me, because they wanted to say their verse for me that they had for school. Because if they said this verse at school, then they would get a prize or get to draw out of a prize box or something. And because of their age difference, they each had a different part of the verse to say. And it was always Alex that started, because he would say the whole thing. And he thought I didn't know that he did that because he wanted to help his brothers with their part. Because if he said the whole verse, their part would have been the first part, or the first and second part. And then, so he didn't know I knew that, but I figured him out. And the verse that they shared and were working on just prior to their disappearance was in Romans. We know that all things work together for the good. And that was the first part. That was Tanner's part to say. We know that all things work together for the good. And then the next part of that verse is for those who love God. And so Alex's part was those two together. And Andrew was, we know that all things work together for the good to those who love God and are called according to his purposes. They gave me their little strip of paper, which I still have in my Bible study, my study guide, study Bible. And they had it nailed. They nailed that verse. And that's was a good Sunday, that Sunday. And most Sundays I would hear them as they'd come in, Pastor Donna, Pastor Donna. And wherever I was, I called out to them. And it was just a good way of being greeted on a Sunday morning.
When was that? When was that verse told to you like that?
That verse was the November verse.
November verse. Okay. So we're into November in this situation now, right?
Yes.
And as you get, are you aware if the boys are in children's counseling at this point in time? Are you have any knowledge of that?
Yes, I did know that. Not how intense it was, but I did know that they were talking with someone, which I was happy with.
And did you know whether or not John and Tanya were in counseling at all at this point in time?
At early on, but by that point, I don't think they were counseling anymore. I think it had come to the point where it wasn't going to be resolved through counseling.
And throughout this period of time in September and October, were you having conversations on occasion with John Skelton?
Yes, and with Tanya and with the boys. And yeah, I mean, we had Cub Scouts during the middle of the week, Sunday services. Occasionally I saw them in the neighborhood when, I was out and about in the neighborhood. So yeah, or at the pizza place downtown. We met there more often than I would like to say.
And during this period of September and October and in November, John was going to church?
Yes, he was.
And Tanya was going to church?
Yes.
As well as the boys?
Yes.
And part of you would give a sermon every week?
Every week.
And then one over at Weston too?
Yes.
Same one?
No.
Okay.
It would be the same scripture, but the congregations were different. So spoke to the congregations.
But you're doing double duty on Sundays?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as a part of your sermons or teachings or themes, did you at some point in time stress on the word home?
Absolutely. Our theme, which I had set within the first month that I was there, I already had set the theme for Christmas, which was come home for Christmas. And I talked about home, that we, if you feel uncomfortable in the world in which we live, if things bother you and you feel like you don't fit, it's because you don't. The scripture tells us we're all strangers and aliens in a strange land. And that's because we don't belong here. We belong in heaven. And heaven is our home. This is just the stopping off place until we get to spend eternity with God. And that has always been a main theme. It's a main belief that I've always had and always expressed, that if you don't fit, it's because you shouldn't fit, because this world isn't our home. Our home is in heaven. That's where we belong, and that's where we should be.
And this was a teaching that you would
Yes,
say out many times.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely. It was important.
would this be a teaching that you made Tanya aware of and John aware of?
Well, if they listen to my messages, and I'm certain that they did, at least I didn't see any sleeping, but yeah, that would have, yes, they would have gotten that impression. And even in general conversation, if somebody were to say to me, so where are you going? Well, sometimes my response was, and still is, heaven, if God still will have me. So, that heaven is my home.
So as you get closer and closer to Thanksgiving, your plan, your individual plan, was not to be in Morenci on Thanksgiving. Is that right?
Right,
In 2010.
right.
Tell us what your plans were for Thanksgiving of 2010.
My plans were to be with my daughter and my grandchildren in Hubbard Lake, Michigan, which is up near Alpena,
That's
in
rough-
northern Michigan.
That's roughly how long a drive from Morenci area?
From Morenci, it's about 5.5 hours, depending on who's driving, me or my husband.
And so what day did you go up there?
We would have gone up there Wednesday evening after our Bible study, if we had Bible study. If not, we would have gone Wednesday afternoon,
The 24th.
right?
Okay. So were you there for Thanksgiving then on Thursday up there?
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall that Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving day itself?
just that had fun with my grandkids. We stayed in our home that we owned at that time, that our older daughter was living in. Was a good time.
Okay.
But I was ready and excited to get back to finish my planning and get started with the plans for Christmas.
Okay. So the next day, did you start to go home or were you planning on going home on the 26th or the 27th? What was your original plan?
Well, our original plan was to stay until late afternoon on Friday. Just spend a little more time with our grandkids. But we decided to leave a little bit earlier just because I was a little anxious to get back and make sure things were done the way they were supposed to be.
Okay. So you left
Friday,
early afternoon?
yeah,
1 o'clock, 2 o'clock?
something like that, yeah.
Okay. Do you receive a phone call or a message or something on your way home?
On the way home, the phone rang and it was my lay leader calling to let me know that he was at Don and Bev's, at Tanya's parents, and that John had not brought the boys home after he had them for Thanksgiving, and that they weren't able to find them. And so we probably for the last hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours on the way home, I was back and forth on the phone with Bob, who was the lay leader, as he kept me posted on what was happening, and didn't go home, went directly to Don and Bev's house.
Don and Bev would be Tanya's mother and father.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a recollection of roughly what time it was when you got there?
I don't know.
Was it dark?
Yes, it was dark. Most everybody was kind of set up in Don's man cave, the garage, and that's where I went directly to.
So we are talking, we're still talking about the 26th. We haven't got to the 27th yet. Right?
No.
This is November 26th, the Friday.
Right.
And when you arrived there, did someone update you as to what was going on?
Yes.
And part of that update, that include the fact that John Skelton was in the hospital.
Yes, it did.
Did you at that point in time, did you know what hospital he was in?
No, I did not know what hospital he was in or why he was in the hospital. That was probably an hour or so after I got there that learned why he was in the hospital
And where he was at?
and where he was at.
Okay. And you had conversation with Tanya during this stretch of time?
Yeah. Yeah.
At some point in time, did a phone call come in to Tanya?
Lots of phone calls came in for Tanya.
How about a phone call from John?
Yes.
You recall that?
I recall that he wanted to talk with her. And at that point, she was trying to talk with him, but couldn't because she just was too stressed.
Okay, so what happens? Did you talk to him?
I talked to him. That seemed to be what happened. Passed the phone to Pastor Donna. And that was okay because I was there to do whatever needed to be done.
So did you recognize John's voice on the phone?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He asked me to let him talk to Tanya, and I said, she's not going to talk to you. She's upset. She's, trying to figure things out. And he said, well, what's the problem? I need to know the problem. And I tried to explain to him that we just needed to know where the boys were. And, could he just tell us where the boys were? That would fix everything. And it was the beginning of, I don't know.
Of him saying, I don't know?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's when it started of, I don't know. And then it evolved into a whole bunch of different stories. I guess that's the only way to put it, because it just went from one thing to another. Each time that he called, or each time that someone talked with him, it was something different. And that was at the time, people were still looking all over the neighborhood for the boys, and had started looking even further away. So we didn't know. And I told him that he would be able to talk to her if he would tell her what was going on.
So we're talking about this phone call that occurred between you and Mr. Skelton on November 26th,
Yes.
Friday evening, right?
Right.
And during that phone call, did he explain to you at that time what was going on?
Well, he didn't explain to me as much as he said, well, I took them home. They went home. I don't know what the problem is. And then the story got all twisted around, and somebody else had them. And then there was a point where he couldn't remember what had happened with them. And each time that I talked with him, and I think he called a couple more times that evening, it just got more confused.
So we're gonna move forward just for a second, and we're gonna back up. But at some point that evening, late in that evening, you actually went to the hospital.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So before that happens, though, you had these phone calls or phone call with John Skelton, and at some point in time, does he mention the name Joanne?
He did mention Joanne, but I didn't know any Joanne. He said, well, she was a friend of his, and that he thought maybe he had sent the boys off with Joanne.
During this phone call, on the evening of the 26th, did he indicate to you that Joanne had come to get the boys?
Yeah, I'm not going to object. I've been pretty lenient, but this is completely leading.
No.
Well,
Coach, briefly?
Sure.
It was a leading question, but it was based solely on the earlier statements we had previous to the hearing. So I will
I would
form a
ask-
different type of question for the next question.
I would ask if you could approach this a little less.
I'll do my best.
And to be clear, Judge, I understand it's 16 years ago. I don't mind some leading with, and I have great deal of respect for the
And I
prosecutor.
understand why you
But-
indicated that. I also understand what the issue is. And let's see if we can solve it. We may go a little bit and ask.
Okay, thank you. So if you recall, did Mr. Skelton indicate what time he gave the boys to this Joanne?
Sometime in the morning, because at a certain point, he talked about how disappointed the boys were that Tanya had not had Thanksgiving with them, that she had Thanksgiving with other family members, and not with them.
Okay.
And the boys were disappointed.
So right now, again, we're still talking about Friday.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And did the conversation come up between the two of you as to whether or not he was able to tell you what Joanne's last name was?
He didn't. He couldn't remember. And I said, well, how can you give your kids to somebody who you don't know their name? That just kind of stunned me a bit at that point. And he said that she was a friend. And I said, well, did the boys know her? I mean, I'm a mom. You don't do that. And he said that the boys knew her because they had met her and had snacks together. And they were very comfortable with her. And he needed a break, and they needed a break because they were heartbroken and disappointed that they couldn't be at Thanksgiving with their mom. And that she, he said to me then as well, all I wanted was Thanksgiving together as a family, the last holiday we'd have together as a family. And she wouldn't do that. And it disappointed the boys and disappointed him. And it was just something that he didn't want the boys around while he was trying to cope with that.
Did he give you any? Hold on, let me ask another question. Did he give you any idea what he thought the person's last name was, if you recall?
I don't recall whether he told me a last name or not, but I said, well, where are they? You do know where they went. And he said to me then, well, by Jackson, somewhere by Jackson. They live by Jackson. That's where she's from. And then he told me that, I said, well, do you have a phone number? No, he didn't, but there was a phone number at home that he wrote on an envelope somewhere.
Did he indicate where he supposedly had met this person before?
Yeah, he met her. The first time he met her, her car had broken down on the road, and he stopped because of being a truck driver. Truck drivers do that stuff. He stopped to help her get her car running. And then he noticed that she had a Cafe Mom sticker on her car. And so he looked her up on Cafe Mom, and that's how they started this friendship.
So he
because
told you on the phone call on November 26th that he recalled not the person's last name, but the fact that she had a Cafe Mom bumper sticker?
Yeah, that he remembered that because of the work he had to do on her car, whether it was changing a tire, I don't know what it had to do with, but her car was broken down.
And you said something about them sharing snacks with the boys?
Yeah, he said that they shared snacks before, she shared snacks with the boys, and I understood that that was at the house maybe before she took them, that they had snacks together.
And did you ask Mr. Skelton if he had a telephone number for Joanne?
Yeah, I did, because I thought, if you're going to give your kids to somebody, you got to know where they're at. He told me then that was when he said there was the phone number on the envelope at home, somewhere by the computer or something. She had written it down for him before she left.
Did he say whether or not, what if anything did he say about the boys being returned?
They should have been back already. He didn't know why they weren't back and where they were. They were supposed to be home before 5 or by 5. There was some event going on and that they were planning on going to. But I said, they're not home. So, where are they?
What, if anything, did Mr. Skelton say to you on the phone about his physical condition?
He was complaining that he wasn't being taken care of very well at the hospital, that he was in a lot of pain, and that they weren't giving him enough pain medicine, that it wasn't helping whatever it was they were giving him. It wasn't helping, and that he just couldn't understand why everybody was being so mean to him. Tanya not wanting to talk to him, police showing up, not giving him pain medicine, all of those things. He couldn't understand why he was being treated so poorly.
So subsequent to that phone call or phone calls, did you made a decision to go to the hospital that late that evening? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, why did you decide to go to the hospital late that evening?
I thought that if I sat and talked with him, he would tell me where the boys were. That if I prayed with him, if I gave him the dignity that in my head that I thought he was looking for, and the respect, that he would tell me where the boys were.
So do you recall approximately what time it was you got down there?
Well, it was after visiting hours, unless you're a pastor.
Pulling rank again.
Yeah, and it would have been, would have been late. I'm sure it would have been before midnight, but not a whole lot before that.
And were you able to see John?
Yes.
Did you see John by yourself at that time?
No, because he was under protective custody. There was a police officer there.
Okay. Was the FBI there at that point in time?
I'm not sure if they were there. But I know that there was a police officer that was there
Who
at
was
that time.
in the room while you were there?
Yes,
Okay.
because of the protective custody situation.
And did you tell John Skelton, why you came here, why you came to the hospital to see him at this late at night?
Yes,
What did you tell him?
I told him that I came there because I wanted to pray with him. I wanted to pray for the boys, to find the boys, and that we could pray together. And I wanted him to know that he could trust me and tell me where the boys were. I just was concerned, and I saw the love that John had for his boys, and I told him that. And so I wanted for him to let me know where they were so we could bring them home. He was bothered by the fact that other people were looking, but that was kind of throughout the whole time. He was bothered that he couldn't be out looking.
Okay.
And, but also he didn't think he could look because he was injured in his foot and ankle and the pain that he was in. And I tried to explain to him that everybody was in pain because they wanted the boys home. And he said, well, I don't know why they're not. I don't know why they're not.
Okay, what happens next in this conversation?
I didn't spend a whole lot of time there at that point. Partly I was tired and I was confused by what was going on. I prayed with him. I gave him all kinds of opportunities. Just, John, just tell me that, tell me where they are. But he seemed to not know at that point. Well, they're with Joanne. And where's Joanne? Well, and it just, there was getting nowhere in talking with him.
At some point, did he become emotional?
Did he?
Yes.
He was emotional from the phone call on.
Describe what you mean.
Not making light of the fact that if you've injured yourself that you're going to have pain. But he seemed to be more focused on his pain, and his tears came more when he was talking about the pain he was in. There weren't the tears about where are my boys, who has my boys. Those were statements, those were questions, but there wasn't the emotion behind those that there was about my foot really hurts and I just don't know if I can stand this pain. And it was, that's when the tears came. And
When he was talking about his injury?
when he was talking about his injuries and
Not
what
so
had
much.
happened.
Not so much when he was talking about the boys.
No, he was insistent when he was talking about the boys. And he was very firm when he was talking about the boys. I don't know where they are. I want to see the boys. I miss them. And I said, well, you were the last one with them.
Yeah,
Tell us where they are.
I'm going to object. She's completely giving an opinion on psychological studies. She's not been deemed an expert. She, respectfully to the pastor, she does not know if he was crying simply about his injury or the boys, and she cannot make that determination without being qualified as such.
Well, I didn't perceive the answer that she was giving as one. She did express an opinion indicating that she believed the pain was the crying or the emotional response came when he talked about his physical pain, his hurt ankle, and that when he spoke about the boys being missing, he didn't have that emotional response. And I think that that is different than expressing an opinion where she's saying, I think this came from one and this came from the other. She's just saying that when he would talk about the boys, it was direct and it was specific. And there wasn't the emotion associated with it. And then he would talk about his physical pain and he would become emotional and upset. So she's saying that those were the two things she observed. I don't think that that is the kind of thing that would require her to be an expert. She's making an observation about what was happening when she was having this discussion. So I'm going to overrule that objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did he show any emotion like you've described during the period of time where he spoke about Tanya?
I'm sorry.
Did he show any emotion like the way you've described so far when he spoke about Tanya?
Initially, he cried. He loves, I love Tanya. I don't know what I can do to help. I don't know. And there was emotion there, and there was an intensity in that emotion. And there, he was crying. He was crying, and it wasn't sobbing or anything like that. There were tears. And I said that all of that would change if he would just tell Tanya where the boys were. That, he asked me, can she ever love me again? And I said, I don't know that she doesn't still love you, but you got to tell her where the boys are. And I cried. He just didn't seem to get to understand that the boys were the focus. He was focused on himself. He was focused on Tanya's reactions. He wasn't focused on the boys. And I was focused on the boys. I had to, it was like mental gymnastics for me to keep up with how he went from one to the other, but he seemed more focused and more emotional when he talked about his love for Tanya and why she, now she would never love him anymore. And why? Where are the boys? I kept trying to bring it back to that, and was not successful.
Ultimately, what if any statement did he make to you? And that, again, we're talking about you in the hospital late in the evening on the 26th, about some of these themes and teachings that you have presented to him in the past.
Well, he said that he knew that the boys were safe. He said that to me several times. The boys are safe. Trust me, Pastor, the boys are safe. Well, where are they safe at? Just you telling me they're safe doesn't help me know where they're safe at and what they're safe from. He said, the boys, they should be home because that's where Joanne took them. She was supposed to take them home. They should be there. And I explained repeatedly that they weren't, and that's why we were in the middle of all of this, because they weren't home.
So he was using the word home.
Yes, he was.
Do you want to keep going, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Was there anything else significant with your discussions with him on the 26th at the hospital that you can recall?
No, not at the hospital. It was just a repeat of what had been said on the phone, and the boys were with Joanne, they were with him. Then he sent them with her. The things he couldn't remember, like he didn't remember her phone number, but he had it written down. Not really much. The biggest issue for him at that time was, it seemed to be the pain that he was in.
All right, so the next day, November 27th, you fielded another phone call directed to Tanya, is that correct?
Yes.
And where were you at when this phone call occurred?
In the command center at the police station. Tanya was on one side of the entrance. She was closest to the front door entrance of the police department. And there was a big counter in between us and a hallway, probably about the distance we are right now away from each other. And her phone rang and she,
Thank you.
okay, her phone rang and I don't know who had it, and they looked and they said, well, it's from John again. And she just said, give it to Pastor. And so I walked over to the counter, took the phone. I answered the phone. I was standing against the wall that kind of separates from where I was standing. I could look out into the police station, or I could look to the left and look into where the city council chambers are and the little offices and things that were there. And he asked why.
Well, let me back up. Was it John on the phone?
No, because it was coming through the hospital or the jail, actually. I think by that point they had transferred him over to.
November 27th was still hospital we're talking about.
Okay. There's a phone call for Tanya from John. And I said, I'll take the phone call. And so I took the phone call. And the FBI agent was standing to my left, and I was leaned back against the wall. And he said, why won't Tanya talk to me? And I said, she will talk to you if you're going to tell her where the boys are. If you tell her where the boys are, she will hear everything you have to say. He asked if she would come up there. And I said, if you are going to tell her where the boys are, she will talk to you. Is she mad at me? Is she thinking about us? And I said, she can't think about anything except her boys right now. She's a mom. She's not worried about you or me or anybody else. She wants to know where her boys are. And she wants them home, and they're not home. And he said to me, Pastor Donna, you of all people should understand what I mean when I say that they're home. I just kind of slid down the wall and sat on the floor. He hung up the phone. I didn't hang up, he hung up. And I knew then that we weren't going to get a phone call from Andrew saying, hey, got dropped off here and this is where we're at. I knew that Alex wasn't going to figure out some way to get from wherever they were at to home. And I knew that Andrew was standing on one side of Tanner and Alex was on the other, and that they had their arms around him and they were just saying, okay. We're gonna be okay. We're together. We're gonna be okay.
You need a moment? You need-
I knew at that point when he said, "You of all people should know," what I mean when I say I sent him home. I knew that they were dead. I kept my hope alive. I kept encouraging everybody to keep on. But in my heart of hearts, I knew what he had done. I didn't know what he had done other than that he had taken the lives of the boys.
That's the conclusion you drew based on
That
the
was-
word he used, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Let's skip ahead to the next day. You're back at the hospital and there's discussions going on. There's an FBI agent there. You recall that?
yes,
Okay. And at some point in time, you're talking with him and the FBI is talking with him. Is that correct?
right.
And at some point in time, something is said by Mr. Skelton that leads to a search.
When he and I were first talking, and again, I just wanted to know where the boys were. And I kept hoping beyond hope that where they were and that I was wrong. And he talked about, a couple of times he talked about he was like in the clouds and there was this big hole and he didn't know, it was a black hole that was just swallowing his thoughts and he didn't know where anybody was or what was going on. He didn't understand. And then he talked about the fact that Tanya was at her sister Tennille's house for Thanksgiving, and that the boys were really sad that she couldn't decide to have Thanksgiving with them. And so he drove out to Tennille's house, and the kids looked through the window. Well, I knew those boys well enough to know that one or the other of them was going to march up on that porch and open the door and say, "Hey, we're here." They weren't going to stand outside a window and watch their mom and the rest of the family or whoever was there have Thanksgiving dinner when they were that close. And he talked about the school that was there and that he thought maybe had gone in the school, but there was just this big black hole and he couldn't, he wasn't sure. And I said, "Well, is that where the boys are?" "No, I don't know." He said, "I don't know an awful lot." He referred to things falling into this hole, his memories, and he didn't know if it was a dream or if it was a reality. He wasn't sure, but he said the boys were really sad and they watched through that window and they cried, and so they decided to leave and come back to Morenci. And it was his mention of the school and being at Tennille's. By Tennille's was an abandoned or closed down elementary school, because I rode in the car with the FBI when they went out there to search.
So you actually went to the scene.
I stayed in the car because I didn't want to find anything. I didn't want to see anything. But yes, I stayed in the car, and there was all kinds of construction stuff. Apparently they had started fixing it. I just remember that I could see that at the area. But the FBI agents searched that building.
Search the school?
Yeah. I don't know what the name of the school was or anything. I just know that it was that closed school.
You indicated this was a school somewhere near Tennille's home?
It was a school in Kunkel, which is, I knew that Tennille lived in Kunkel. I'd never been to her house, but he mentioned it because he said they saw it when they were standing by the window watching the Thanksgiving and watching Tanya laugh and enjoy herself, but not be with them.
So after this part of the discussion occurred at the hospital, you, along with the FBI agents, jumped in a car
Yeah,
and drove to this schoolhouse that was mentioned by Mr. Skelton in your conversation.
yes.
And how long were you there at that scene by the schoolhouse?
That was one of the late nights. I sat in the car with Mark for, it had to be close to 45 minutes.
Mark who?
Pilbeam, a friend of John and Tanya's.
So Mark Pilbeam was at the hospital along with yourself?
Yes.
Was Mark Pilbeam in the hospital room with you and the FBI agent when this
No,
discussion occurred?
no, it was just me and the agent and the ones that were observing through the observation room.
Okay. And at the end of that 45 minutes or so that you discussed, what happens next?
Because it was really late, we came home. I mean, they dropped me off at my house.
Nothing was found. Nothing was located.
Nothing that I'm aware of, nothing was found at the schoolhouse.
No one told you they found anything.
Right.
I'm going to back up a little bit. You're going up to Hubbard Lake?
Yeah.
For Thanksgiving. And as you leave town, did you drive by where the Skelton house is or nearby where the Skelton house is when you're leaving town?
Oh, yes, yes. And the boys were playing outside.
Did you notice any other cars in the driveway or anything at all like that?
No.
Do you recognize the boys though?
Oh, yeah,
I think we're talking about November 24th, the
Yeah.
Wednesday.
yeah.
Okay.
They were easy to recognize unless they were in the woods somewhere because they always had their camo on.
Did you notice if it was just them, those three, or was anybody, other kids playing in the yard there?
No, I just saw them. And I'm not sure all three of them were in the yard. I'm not sure that Tanner was outside.
Okay. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you. Hold on a second. Mr. Amadeo may have some questions for you.
Judge, we approach briefly.
those of you who don't know, our air conditioning just shut off. Let me- Pastor? I
Yes.
was ever so hopeful that we could finish your testimony today. How far a drive is it from your home to here?
Maybe 50 minutes.
I have my answer. We're gonna bring you back tomorrow.
Okay.
Start at 10:30.
30.
I had hoped to finish this today, but I also know that we're not gonna have air conditioning. And I pushed the overtime button now. So I'm going to ask if you'll be indulgent and go back tomorrow.
Anything that will make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Judge, if it helps, I'd stipulate to her Zooming if that helps her travel. I have no issue with that.
50 minutes is not a big deal, especially
No.
across the farmland that we're talking about. It would be a beautiful drive tomorrow.
Right.
But I do appreciate that, Mr. Monaco, and both parties were working to try and make this a one-day adventure for you, but
It's okay.
I think at this point, we need to call it a day and everybody go home, regroup, and we'll come back in the morning. I'm going to ask that we don't have a conversation right now because I'm going to have some wrap up. Is there anything we need to take up before tomorrow morning that we could finish tonight before we get too warm in this courtroom? I mean, it's been a little chilly all day long in here. However, it will amaze you how quickly it gets not chilly.
Judge, I believe the people wanted to play a video. I don't know how long of a clip you want to play. Maybe we could do that. I don't know if we can get in before 10:30 tomorrow, but it's like a half-hour video, which might save us some time. You guys tell me.
It's more like an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh. Well, I could be here at 8. I don't know if the judge is going to be cool with that.
I have a morning docket, thank you.
Understand?
I'm arranging this week.
So I was just thinking of ways to save time, but I'll be here whenever you tell me.
All right, well, why don't you get here at 10, just on the off chance that we have something that needs to be taken up?
No problem, Judge.
Before we get to testimony, everyone will commence at 10:30. Those of you from the press will be here about 10 to put everything back to the laws. Whatever you. We'll see you all then.
Thanks.
All right, please.
If they want to, if they want to, that's fine. This will all slide.
Can you open your mouth, please?
Hey there. So I wasn't quick enough to end the end there, but we are continuing tomorrow, day 2. I assume it'll be a part 1 in the morning, part 2 in the afternoon, or it'll be a full day. We shall see how I'm able to stream it. But just to recap for you, defense cross-examination of Tanya Zuvers took most of the afternoon as well as the morning. But then the afternoon session did kick off with the defense beginning their cross-examination of the boy's mother, Tanya, I believe is how they've been pronouncing it, Zuvers, which is a different last name than Skelton because they are divorced, John Skelton and Tanya. acknowledging the immense emotional toll of the proceedings and establishing her familiarity with years of police interviews. The Zoovers testified under cross-examination that law enforcement informed her only 2 to 3 weeks after the boys vanished that they believed the children had been murdered and that John Skelton was the prime suspect. Reviewing the early days of the disappearance, testimony highlighted how quickly law enforcement realized Skelton's initial stories, ranging from the boys being with a woman named Joanne, which is an odd storyline, to being handed over to an underground group. They were perceived as false fabrications. Recapping points can emphasize the physical evidence recovered from the Morenci home immediately following Thanksgiving 2010, including the Essing note addressed to Zoovers, the destroyed state of the personal items inside, and the rope tied to the stair banister. Then we went to Pastor Donna Galloway. She's a former pastor of the Methodist Church in Morenci back in 2010. She took the stand and answered questions from her perspective, her involvement and interactions with John while he was in the hospital. If you have not seen it, please join the replay crew. You'll see 2 streams out there. It was an interesting day, but they are continuing I'm drawing a blank. The cross-examination is going to occur tomorrow morning, so they're bringing her back. The judge seems to be pretty much on top of things, which is great, and very focused on the case itself, trying to be earlier on, she commented about no streams, no videos, no pictures being taken from the courtroom because it could give grounds for an appeal. So she was already thinking further ahead, right? But she's going to take the next day or 2 or 3 to discuss it, receive all the information, discovery, the witnesses' statements, the interviews, the witnesses' verbiage under oath, and then she'll make her final decision to see if the case is going to be held over for trial. Again, this is in Michigan. I originally came from Michigan, so it caught my attention, and I thank Lama. Couch Court with Lama, that's her channel. She alerted me to this late Friday, and I did research over the weekend, and today was the first day of the hearing. So I was able to stream it, so I'm very grateful for that. And if anybody has comments, concerns, or anything for that, please let me know. And again, if you check out the YT descriptions, you'll see the write-up on it and what I tried to capture to provide you with some written verbiage of recapping. So I thank you all once again. Definitely everyone who joined and watched. I appreciate it. You'll see the title include D1P2, D1P1. So it's day 1, part 1, day 1, part 2, continuing tomorrow. We will see if it's going to be in one event, day 2, right? So we'll see if we can get it all in one big stream. So otherwise, I'll be splitting it up like I did today. I may also change from the missing Spotlight series to Legal Wire, because this is an interesting case. It's missing children who we are perceived as have passed at the hands of someone, allegedly the father. But with that said, it's more of a Legal Wire topic, right? We're following a live case. So I may be switching over to that. You'll see a different thumbnail, but I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that in case you get confused or if you have any think it's weird or whatever. But I didn't make a mistake. I just think it's in a better lane for myself, and it helps people who go to my Legal Wire streams. It kind of fits more in there. Anyway, I will correlate the videos together so that we keep going forward with it. And again, you're very welcome for the recap. No problem. I try to do that during lunch, during breaks, as well as end of day. So if you have any questions, please leave comments. I truly appreciate them. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next one. Bye now.